Hey everybody, Steve here, and today we're finishing up, or we should be finishing up, or getting pretty darn close to our blade engraving. So if we take a look at what's going on back with the engraver, shows we've got a lot going on in there, and we're running about a minute and a half over right now. So hopefully sometime in the near future, we will be done with this. But what we can do is we can lift the lid and kind of take a look and see where we're at. We got a little ways to go, but it is turning out fairly well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Definitely a lot better than the results that we had before. So we're still, we're going at an angle, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see the final results because we do have a little bit ways to go. I did have my timer set, and I thought we would be close to done, but we're not. So unfortunately, it's got a little ways to go. What I ended up doing is getting a graphic of like some Damascus steel engraving, and so we took a look at that. We put it into our Lightburn software, and then we resized it and cropped it with, you make an image and then you mask that image onto your graphic or vice versa, whatever it is, and then you got to flatten the image to the thing, the object that you made. In this case, it was a long rectangular type of thing, and you can kind of see a little bit of that right along here. So let's see if we can take a look. So we can see down here on basically right up, let's see if we get it, kind of going all over the place because there's a delay in the video. So down and over. So there you can see the white outline of where it engraved. And basically what happened is we have a rectangle. So in other words, basically we have a shape like this, and then we have our knife blade. So let's say if this is our knife blade, then what we're doing is kind of like this. And then as the laser is going over and engraving, it's engraving the metal base. So that's good that we have the metal base. I was waiting for that. And then it goes over and engraves over the blade. So it kind of just goes back and forth and back and forth. So we get the engraving on the blade itself, but we do get a lot of overscan or engraving past the edges of the blade. So a little bit of wasted time on that. And you can actually, that's as close as I can zoom in on that. But you can kind of see the shape there and see the shape of the blade tip is kind of, you can see the point of that. So again, it's engraving, and we're getting closer and closer and closer. And eventually we will finish up with this. And with that, I'm already working on the next project of doing another slate engraving. But I'm waiting for some lacquer to come in because as we did our slate coasters, take a look at that. Slate coasters came in really good. And I'm not sure whether I want to leave them like this or put the lacquer or clear coat over it and then have it be shiny, and that would be really attractive, nice looking, or just leave it the way it is. Or the other thing that I'm thinking about doing is doing the lacquer or clear coat first, and so that way it's all shiny, and then when the laser goes through, and I'll run the laser twice, that it will burn through the lacquer, and then it'll get to the slate, and then we'll get some really high definition. And if we fill the majority of the coaster with an engraving, it'll clear away and strip away all of that clear coat or lacquer, and then the slate coaster can actually absorb some of the condensation from a drink. So yeah, I've seen some people on YouTube do that. And, Lord knows the internet is always right. So we're going to give that a shot and see what that looks like. But it's turning out pretty good from what I can see. We've still got a ways to go. So it'll be interesting to see. But it is definitely a lot better than what it was before. Matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can take this camera and get it a little bit closer. So let me adjust this for the full size that we have. I'll take off my duct tape. And we'll see if we can't get a little bit closer into that. Try to get that right in the center there. That looks pretty good. So you can end up seeing on the outline of the rectangle and how the engraving is going, on the plate itself, and then as it goes back and forth, it starts hitting the blade and then going past it a little bit. So I centered it halfway decent. But if we kind of move in there, but you can see the outline of the knife underneath. All I have is just a little bit of putty to hold that up there. And it'll be interesting to see how, is that gonna, basically what I ended up doing is, let me see. If I can show you. Since I only have 80 millimeters to work with here, basically what I ended up doing is this is the build area or the engraving area of the laser. Let me turn this on real quick. Get a little bit of light on the subject. Say if this is the entire engraving area, which is 80 millimeters by 80 millimeters. This is actually 100, so you'd knock off a little bit. But basically what I ended up doing is making the graphic like this and putting it sideways so that it would go like this, and then it actually extends all the way to the top up here and then goes across. So that way I could get the max amount of distance on there. I'm not sure what it was, but I was able to maximize the length that I could engrave on that area within that 80 millimeter box. So yeah, kind of tilting it in the manner like that, that's what we ended up doing. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out on this knife that we're engraving. And we're coming along nicely. I wish I had a larger laser, a better laser system, but this is the Wainlux K10. It's a 5-watt laser, which it's a beginner entry level, very entry level. I'd say, this is something that you could use in like junior high school, middle school, junior high kids, and getting them, doing little projects and stuff like that. But now kids these days are, they're learning how to do stuff on computers and iPads, and that's kind of a way of life. Kids have iPads before, they could walk. So tablets, things like that. It's just amazing on how fast people can adapt to new technology. And so the kids that are growing up today, hopefully they'll learn useful skills instead of just TikToking and doing stupid dances, but they could actually apply that and get into trades and get into electronics and get into science and all of these things. Because not everybody can be a TikTok influencer. That's just my 2 cents. So we will see how this pans out. This will be very interesting. And again, this is just a test concept. It's not, I'm not doing it for a client or anything like that. Don't have any clients. I'm just kind of experimenting with this on my own, dipping my toe into the laser engraving market and seeing what can be done. because in all honesty, the company Wainlux contacted me and they said, hey, we saw your channel and would you like to review the K10? It's a 5-watt laser, blah, blah, blah. And they'll send it to me. And so I was like, hey, I said, you realize that, sure, I'll do it. Honestly, I was half-hearted and I was like, yeah, I didn't really want to do it. But, I thought, let's give it a shot. I can make some videos and I'm retired and it gives me something to do. Okay, we'll do that. So anyway, it ends up that I also told Wainlux that I'm going to tell it like it is. So in other words, I've had other companies contact me to do reviews, post them on Amazon, post them on YouTube and my Facebook and all that. And, the TikTok stores, I've had a lot of that recently. But they all came with a caveat of, we'll send you the item, but you need to kind of have a favorable view of the item itself. And it's like, you need to give us a good review. There are some people that said, we're paying you to do a good review. And it's like, yeah, that's not how this works. I don't do that. I do a review. I'm going to tell you if it lives up to the advertisements and the claims, like this will, this will be able to engrave, wood. It'll be able to engrave slate and metals. We did metal engraving on this, and we've got some glass pieces and test pieces. Though I don't know if it'll work with this thin a glass, which will be interesting. But we'll test that out. And a number of other materials. I want to get some cobblestone because it says that it can engrave in cobblestone. So we'll check that out when I find some decent flat cobblestone rocks or flat-ish. We'll give that a shot. But I told him, I said, if it lives up to the claims, I'll let people know. If I run into problems, I'm going to let people know. And then if it doesn't live up to claims, I will let people know. And if I don't think that there is, it's worth it, I'll let people know. And, I said, I'm an honest reviewer. And I've had so many companies blast me with, offers of this, and we'll pay you this. And especially the TikTok stores. They're like, we'll give you a commission for everyone that's sold if you just promote it, blah, blah, blah. Give us good reviews. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how that works. When I tell them that I do honest reviews, good, bad, or indifferent, I never hear from those people ever again. So kind of a good way to weed out the knuckleheads. But Wainlux came back and they said, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay, that's different. Clearly, by doing some research on Wainlux and the K10, it is an entry-level engraver. It is. There's no bones about it. It's a 5-watt laser. The majority of it is plastic. Very few metal parts. It's really cheap and inexpensive to make a laser engraver. The gantry system on it is just rinky-dink. Circuit boards aren't much. It's minimal, very minimal. And then you have your laser module. But even then, it's not that expensive. And so they can charge a little bit more. They can make some money, which is nothing wrong with that. But I told them, I said, yeah, I do honest reviews. And they were like, okay, where can we send it to you? I said, oh, by the way, yeah, I live in Korea. I retired here. And they're like, oh, okay, well, then they got back with me and they're like, hey, what is your Korean address? So I sent that to them. Next thing you know, I got it, did an unboxing video, and I've been making live videos on this and just trying different things, doing tests, like we ended up doing, where is that? We did like test pieces on stuff like this to find the best power and speed settings to get engravings on slate. The same thing, we've done a number of tests on like basswood, and yeah, we're going to continue on with this. And I found myself more and more really enjoying it, the laser engraving. Whether it's just for personal or if you're doing side gigs, I see this as like, hey, I got some cool stuff that I want to engrave. The wife wants a personalized AirPod case, so I did that for her. I did mine as well. And then, I started engraving, did a couple engravings on the knife that came out really well. And I was like, hey, I wonder if I could engrave on that dark colored metal, kind of like, you know, what we end up having here, and engrave a pattern like acid etched Damascus steel type thing on a blade. And lo and behold, other people have done that, but this is a rinky dink little 5 watt laser. So I didn't know if it was going to do it or not, but it looks like it is. So that's kind of cool. It is definitely very, very interesting. So I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if this is going to end up perfectly the way I want it, but it's more of a proof of concept to see what this machine is capable of. And this thing has been running for over 4 hours now, 4 hours and 17 minutes. So it obviously takes a little time. But then again, we're, you know, at 150 millimeters per minute, so it's not like we're breaking any land speed records. But it's coming along fairly well. And we can see, like, towards the back end of that, of the blade there, we're getting towards the back, which is kind of hard to see, you know, through the orange, but that's the safety cover. It's made of a material that is obviously orange. Just call me Captain Obvious. But it's made with a specific wavelength to protect your eyes from the laser, because you don't want to stare at the laser. It's kind of like staring at the arc when you're welding. You don't want to do that with your without any eye protection. So, and then they also include some goggles just in case. But yeah, you're definitely going to have some safety stuff going on here. But it looks like it's pretty good, to be honest with you. And you know what we could end up doing, since we got the camera off of the thing there. And the cool thing is you can open the lid, and what ends up happening is it'll pause the engraving, and then when you close the lid, there's a limit switch in there, and it will resume engraving. Let's take a little closer look, since this has taken a little bit longer than what I was anticipating. And we got enough light, maybe? Let's see if we can get some more light on this. And you can kind of see what we're looking at here. I don't know how well this is going to come out, but you can see that. Oh, that's going to be hard to focus. But that, it's coming out pretty good. So, yeah, I'm, sorry about that. So sorry. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But I need to turn this around like that, I think. I need to angle it a little bit, I think, maybe. Seriously. Did I not have it in the right way? Is there any special button? No. There we go. Excuse me for the this, and then like that. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I think that'll work. The joys of live streaming. The good thing is we can move this in a little bit and kind of adjust this. But yeah, it's turning out a lot better than I expected. But again, the knife is coated, the blade is coated with a dark color. So when we have an image and we turn it into a negative of that image, what's white will be black and black will be white. And we engrave that onto dark images, kind of like with slate and metal and that are coated. Yeah, you can get some pretty cool effects on there. So yeah, very, very interesting. And we're about 22 minutes over for our estimated time. And I'm not sure why we're over on that, but it looks like we still got a little ways to go. But we'll just let the laser do its thing. But this is definitely going to take a while compared to like doing a 4-inch coaster with a large graphic on it, such as this. What you'll end up doing is, I think this one took like 23 minutes and some change, which came out really well. Some other ones, some simpler, smaller ones were like 15 minutes. And again, it depends on how much engraving it has to do. So not bad, you know. And we're going at a speed of, with a coaster anyway, 5,000 millimeters per minute at 50% power to get the widest color that we can get. When we start going and doing, where is it? So 5,000 at 50% power, we get kind of like the widest white that we're going to get on slate. Whereas compared to the 1,000 speed at 100%, it almost turns it into a sepia color. And if this thing will focus. So you can kind of see that there as everything is backwards. But you can see a little bit of difference in the tinge in the color. And maybe that's something that you want to go for with slate coasters. But for the metal, you definitely have to do it a lot slower, because otherwise you're not going to eat through the coating that's on the blade, which is annealed or, I don't know, electroplated or whatever, however the hell they end up doing that stuff. So, yeah, this will be interesting indeed. So I guess we'll just continue this. I'm guessing maybe, because we're hitting about 4 hours 30 right now, 4 hours 35 minutes. So I'm thinking about another 20 minutes or so. Maybe we'll be done. I don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, the joys and the excitement of laser engraving. So we'll see. We shall see. I wonder if I can do a manual focus on this. Yes, I can. But will it manual focus? Ooh, that's a lot better. When I did that manual focus thing, that's definitely a lot better. Let's see, a little bit more. No, I think I just took it a little bit out of focus. So if we go back a little bit. so hard to see. I think that's about as good as we're going to get through that. Through that orange cover. And you can see the area as it's engraving. It looks like the laser's going off and on, and that's actually because it is. With any type of pattern, what you'll end up seeing is like a good example of this. So when the laser goes across here, and in between the tip of this sword, between the tip of his sword and his foot, there's a lot of black space in there where that laser is not engraving. So basically, only on the white portions is where the laser is actually firing. So if you have black, what happens is the laser runs along and it engraves, and when it gets to an area where there's no more engraving, it actually shuts off and continues to move on that due to the gantry of the system, the X and the Y. And then as soon as it gets to a place where it's supposed to engrave again, the laser, boom, turns on. And yeah, there's circuit boards in here that are, they're rinky-dink, they're small, you know, they probably get them, made in China, and get a good deal on bulk, and then they crank these things out. They already have plastic molds of what looks like the base and everything, and the housing and the components of this laser. But when you tip it upside down and look at it, it's really simple. I was just kind of amazed at thinking about my experience in electronics in the military and so on and so forth. I was an electronics technician for the state of Colorado, and just seeing how things have progressed over the last few decades, 3, 4 decades, 5 decades, as far as electronics and what we can do, it's just amazing. We used to have huge components and all of this, and now you've got circuit boards that are computer printed, and there's no way you could repair them. It's easier and more cost effective to just throw away a board and buy a new board and put that in and replace the board than it is to actually go in, and I remember doing that stuff, desoldering resistors and all kinds of different components on boards, circuit boards, and replacing those and spending the time doing that. So we've really come to a time in history where it's just kind of amazing. But then, things used to be really expensive. Now they got less expensive as time goes on, unless you're looking at inflation, and we can thank the government for that. But, over time, we've gotten to a place, and through competition, is we can offer, pretty much better parts at cheaper prices to do the same thing, and order them in bulk or produce them in bulk, and everybody wins in the end. So but again, it's still amazing that something like this for a couple $100. It's just amazing, in my opinion. And I think it'll be interesting to see this because of the graphic I used, which, do I even have that? I don't think I do. Nope, not there. Hobby project logo, no, that's not it. No, I don't think I got it. I've got it somewhere, the graphic. Downloads, is it on downloads? But there are definitely some other, it was the last 30 days. No, I'm not sure where I got it. It's somewhere. Maybe, I know I saved it. I just can't remember where I saved it to. Slate test, knife etching test. That's the old one. So at least I saved the file for this. Grayscale tests. No, that's not it. I need to do a grayscale test. We got clip arts. We got miscellaneous. Did I throw it in there? No, it's not there either. Oh well. It is what it is. I'm really looking forward to getting a good laser. Not that this isn't good, it is good, but it is a small engraving area, again, 3.14 by 3.14 inches. And it would be nice to have a larger one. But like I said, I didn't know if I was going to like laser engraving as much as I do now. So, wow, that'd be interesting. But now this has got me thinking, get a better laser, or even with something like this, you could just do square 4-inch coasters or 4-inch round coasters, and you could do a little side business with it. Sell them custom. You could do lettering, you could do graphics, whatever it is. That would be pretty good. There was a guy I was watching, and he was doing coasters. He had a buttload of coasters, and he says he makes good money off of doing these coasters. So I was like, okay, well, I'll watch and I'll see what he's looking at doing, because, the coaster thing is kind of cool. I'm going to make, some for me, and then I'll make some for the wife, and, some as presents for somebody else in the family members. But I always wondered, if I was going to do this as a side gig, how much would you charge? And this dude was selling his coasters for like $10 a pop. And so for 4 coasters in a pack, it was $40. He must live in some rich place or whatever, Nantucket or whatever, some rich place. But other people I've seen kind of more on the range of $10, maybe $7 per coaster, which is kind of doable. And where I'm at overseas here in Korea, near a military base, I wouldn't be averse to doing like, $5 to $7 if it's custom work, and I'd have to, like say somebody wanted a split monogram with a big capital letter of their last name, whatever it is, in the little split monogram, that it ends up you could put their, their name in there. You got to charge a little bit for that, maybe $8 a pop. But as far as expenses, you're looking at, once you buy the laser, for me, yeah, you can do the whole business thing and depreciation of equipment. Yeah, you can do all that. I'm just talking as like a hobby side gig. It's a couple $100 for this thing, or similar laser. Really, once you buy it, it is what it is. You paid it off. Whether it's making money, that's the interesting part, because you got electricity and all that. I know people will detail it to death, but if the laser is paid for, and then you're looking for the materials, how much is the material? Like the coasters. The coasters ended up, I got 12, I can't remember how much I paid. I overpaid, but again, it was a smaller quantity, so they charged a little bit more. But when I looked on Amazon, you could get like 80 coasters for like $55. So it comes out to like 95 cents a coaster. Now think about it. If you're selling $7 to $10 or $12 a coaster, you could do some artsy fartsy stuff, or some deer or mountain range background stuff. And I got a bunch of stuff that I'm going to try out. But basically, you're looking at $1 just for this, and you're going to do the engraving, which is, it's going to do what it's going to do, and then you might spray some lacquer on it, clear coat or whatever, and that's pennies on the dollar. So maybe $1 you'll be spending for materials, for the coaster and for the lacquer, and then, a few cents for electricity and whatever. At $7 a coaster, even $5 to $10 a coaster, that's a pretty huge profit margin. that is a real nice margin. So, and since I'm kind of into Warhammer, I paint figures, and I print figures on not a laser printer, resin printer, and I do painting of miniatures and things like that. I've had people approach me to do stuff, but I'm retired and I just have these squirrel moments. Like I'll do resin printing and then boom, I do painting, and then I do more resin printing, and then I go over here and I do something else, and then I'm in the gym, and next thing you know, I've got this laser engraver, so now I'm focused on that. So I got a lot of squirrel moments going on. But for something like this, especially with a bigger laser system, if you have a bigger engraving area, you can do a template, and you could put, say, like a 26 by 15 engraving area. How many of these can you fit onto the build plate? Boom, boom, boom. Especially with newer machines, you put them all in there, the machine takes a picture, you put the graphic, and if you want to repeat the same graphic on all of those, the machines and engravers they have today will automatically put it and center it on your material, and then you just hit go, and there it is. And however long it takes, definitely a lot shorter than what it takes with this little 5-watt doozy, but you're going to pay more money for the laser. But wow, it's amazing on what you could end up doing, because really when you get back and your coaster prints out and you're done, what are you going to do? If you do like a local show, or maybe you just do online sales, you might have some postal fees or things like that. But if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be local and personalized custom things. But the interesting thing is with this here, with this knife blade, is that I might just end up offering services to engrave knife blades like this. And there's a bunch of other videos. Of course, after I, had the great idea to laser engrave my knife blade, I looked on YouTube, and of course, everybody's been doing it forever. So yeah, nothing new under the sun. But yeah, it's just a cool little hobby. I enjoy it. The next little project that I'm looking at is, let's pull this up. I'm doing another coaster. And this is going to be my next coaster that we see right here. So yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. Here's a preview of it. And so in other words, the image is reversed. So the laser is going to, everything that's black, because it's a negative, is going to be white, and vice versa. So we should get some really good colors on this, kind of like what we did with this thing here. And I think that'll be very cool with the outline on there. And that one should take about 31 minutes, 32 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, depends. But, 20, 30 minutes to do a coaster, that's not bad at all. And with some of the more higher end of machines, let's say, they obviously run, they have higher power lasers, they can run much faster. So, it's just going to be pretty cool, I think. And I'm really looking forward to that. Let's go back down here. And where are we? Okay. Set that back up and go back there. We're getting towards the end. We're in the home stretch. We're 40 minutes past our estimated time, which I'm not sure why. Maybe there's some kind of setting. Matter of fact, I know there's a setting. I just can't remember where it is. It's either in the machine settings or the device setting or some setting menu where it will pool or gather the information from the laser itself, or you can manually put in the things like the speed, the this, the that, and whatever other things on there. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. Let's see. Maybe is it there? Editor settings? No. is, no, it's not units and grids, it's not display. Import, export, no, that's not it. So it's not the general settings, the device settings. So basically the laser settings. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So you get a couple of different tabs along the top. So this first one here is that right there, which is general settings. So with this, you end up stuff like with the editor settings, the units and the grids. You can actually set the grid squares and the spacing for all of that stuff. So you can be real precise and you can snap those things to the grid. And so obviously if you have smaller grids, you can get better precision and it makes things a lot easier. Display, import, export, don't even worry about that. Don't have a camera, so we don't worry about that. So it's going to be here, on this one here, the device settings for the actual printer or engraver. And there's the working, the X and Y, height and weight. And I think it was here, fast white space scan. There's that. S value max is set to 1,000, which you need to make sure that that is set. Because if that is set below 1,000, basically it's kind of like a governor on a vehicle that won't allow you to use the full potential of your laser. So in other words, it kind of retards the strength. So if that was set at like 900 and I wanted to use 100% power of my laser to engrave something, like what we're doing here, the problem is that even though I set that 100% power to engrave on, metal, let's just say we're doing our metal, which is 100%. The problem is that that S value max, if it's set lower, it will bring it down some certain percentage for whatever that number is. So you're not really going to get 100% if that S value max is less than 1,000. G code, we don't do that. Yeah, here it is. So this is it right here. These settings are to adjust preview and simulation timing. They do not affect your controller. So speed, cut acceleration, engrave acceleration, we have all these things here, rapid speed, corner accuracy, and you don't change any of these, at least I don't. And then you come down here to the bottom and it says read from your controller. So if you click on that, that will upgrade, or actually it'll query, Lightburn will query and get this information from your printer and automatically populate this so that you get better previews and estimated times and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to do that now while it's printing because I don't know if it'll screw it up. I'm pretty sure it won't, but it is what it is. I'll just leave it be. Let's go back and see what we got going on here. Oh, we're getting so close. So close. Yeah, I think this is going to turn out good. Now, the other thing is, I'm going to have to turn this around, but notice in the back where it's got the little belt clip on there for the knife, the problem is that raises that blade up a little bit more, and I don't have a lot of room to, in other words, if I flipped it around to the other side, I would have problems engraving that blade. So now I have to find a small hex to fit that Gerber knife clip fasteners on there, which is a weird torque wrench size or whatever that I don't have, obviously. I mean, who has those things? So I'll have to either wait. I'm gonna have to wait, because if I take that metal piece out and the laser engraving is doing this etching, as you can see towards the tip of the blade, it's etched into the plate of that metal base. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a torque wrench to take that clip off and then take it off, flip it over on the other side, mirror the image, and then run it again. And hopefully I can line it up in the same way. Oh, we're so close. Look at that. So one way, and it stops, and it goes back, turns around, same thing, stops, turns around, goes back. Oh, we only got a few minutes, I bet. This is getting good. I think this is going to work out well. But with a larger machine, the cool thing is you could actually make a grid or a jig that, you know, if this was really a big side gig for you, then you would obviously take the knife apart. You could set the blade inside of a jig where it's cut out from wood, so the knife blade is in there, and you could do multiple knife blades, or, you know, definitely do both sides. And you could, you know, really fine tune getting this to get repeatable results on both sides of the blade. Whereas what I'm doing now is just kind of using the Kentucky windage to get this going. Oh, we're close, we're close. It's not going to be bad for just kind of eyeballing it. I think it's turned out pretty good. Remains to be seen. But the cool thing is, being retired, I can do stuff like this. I can engrave some stuff, and then I'll go do something else. You know, watch some TV, play some games or whatever. Take a nap if it was, you know, gym day. Yesterday we hit the gym, and man, it was arm day. I hit arms big yesterday. Oh, we are so close on this. Look how that just tiny movements back and forth. We're almost there. We're almost there. Look at that. You're seeing it live. Dun, dun, dun. And we're done. Alrighty. Awesome. So, let me put it back on manual focus. We'll kind of zoom this out a little bit. And we'll take a look and see how this turned out. And, oops, sorry about that. The smell of burnt blade. Oh, holy crow. That came, look at that. I mean, we got to clean that off, but that is pretty impressive just right there. Wow, let me clean this off. Oh wow, that turned out way better than I imagined. And I need to find some, let me go clean this off real quick. But before I do that, let's just come up here. Wow. Let's see if we can see that. We need some little bit of light here. Look at that. That is not bad. Of course, we'll have to sharpen the blade a little bit, as we can see that it, but man, look at that. That turned out not bad at all, did it? Let me go clean this. Let me go get and clean this up real quick, and I'll be right back. Told you I'd be right back. Now there's gonna be some little differences in here because of the blade and the fact that there is an angle but that's what we end up getting, which is not bad. But we can see where on that top part along this piece here, I mean, that's pretty good. The problem is, like right along here, we're getting further and a little bit further away, and the laser isn't as focused. But still, that is pretty impressive. I wonder if I could do a little fine sanding and see. Kind of clean that up a little bit. Not bad. So, if we can focus here, people. Focus, focus. There we go. So cleaned it up a little bit, but it definitely looks better in person than it does here. But just to see if this works, that turned out pretty good. Let me take this tape off here. And I had to use a little bit of basswood in here to keep the blade open at a 45. But for that, I kind of lost it a little bit towards that hilt area. Focus. Come on, focus. There we go. But proof of concept seems to be working out kind of good. So, yeah, that I'm pretty happy with that. I might have to go back and try to change some stuff up on that to maybe change how much white is in that graphic so that way it burns a little bit deeper. But compared to the other side, you know, which is just the black blade, that turned out not bad at all, huh? Not bad. Okay, cool. So, the thing we need to do is get a hex or a torque end to take off this clip, and then we'll be able to do the other side, and hopefully I can kind of line it up close to that. But again, proof of concept on seeing that this works. It does. And for some of the other stuff, like I ended up engraving that there, which that came out really nice. And then the other thing I ended up doing was this little veteran U.S. Army thing that I grabbed off the interwebs. And then now we have our little Damascus steel type of course now it doesn't want to focus, how that came into play. So yeah, you know, not bad, not bad at all. Just do a little edge highlighting. So if you don't know what edge highlighting is, that goes to the, just kind of wear that off a little bit and get a little bit of light that reflects off of those edges. It just makes it look a little bit better there. But yeah, that came out good. I like that. Now there's some people that ended up doing engraving and getting black etching onto the stainless steel of the knives that they're doing. Obviously, they're, you know, companies and people that are doing that work professionally. But yeah, that I like that. That came out good on that. So now I need to order some torque wrench or Allen wrenches to get that clip off, and we'll do that other side and repeat that process. And I thought I had some, but I don't. So I'm going to have to order some of those. But anyway, yeah, that's what we got going on. The laser engraving, the blade etching, the knife results that we got, which came out pretty good. Matter of fact, let me see if I can, we'll get a picture of this. And maybe the picture will be better. Because you can kind of zoom in here and see. The way the light's reflecting on it, it's kind of interesting. But it's close enough, so let's take a look at it. And part of the problem is that it's going to have the slope of the blade, because remember the laser is angled. I tried to kind of split the difference, but I guess I didn't split it enough to get it enough as it happened, or to compensate for all of the little bit of angle that is on there. Again, the knife was just sitting on there. We had a piece of putty, so it wasn't like totally level, plumb and level. But let's see if we can get this. There it is. I sent it to myself, and we'll download that. Click to open. I'll throw this up on the page here. So there's our result, which is not bad, considering, you know, the first time. Again, proof of concept that it is working and that, you know, we can get stuff like this done. But that is pretty cool. I like that. Wow. That just turned out great. I mean, it could be better, obviously. And with newer machines, it should be even better, because they can compensate. They can actually run LiDAR and do a mesh over the object that you're going to be engraving upon. So it'll take into account the different elevations of the blade slope, and yeah, everything would come out clear. But, you know, for a first time, that is not bad. A little bit of cleanup. Maybe need some more contrast on that graphic, and we'll try to do that on the other side when we get to that. But with that being said, there it is. There is the engraving of the blade. Cheap little Gerber with a little inexpensive hobby 5-watt laser from Wainlux, the K10. And yeah, it's a good starting point. Not something I would say, ooh, wow. But I'm encouraged by the results. So yeah, that'll be interesting. So anyway, with that being said, we do have some people that, like we have here, that have bought me coffee. These are the awesome people who I give much respect to that have bought me coffee. They've enjoyed my videos, whether it's the hobby stuff or whether it's the resin printing, the miniature painting, some of the fitness commentary stuff that I do, or the overseas retirement stuff, because my wife and I are retired here in Korea, and retiring overseas allowed us to retire early, so I can do fun stuff like this. So whatever it is, as a minimum, please like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that on YouTube, the Varied Life channel. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy, and yeah, that's going to be it. If you've got any experiences, tell me what you think of the results of that knife and the engraving, and any suggestions. Should it be lighter, darker, more contrast between the colors or the shading and stuff like that? I think there does a little bit, but what do you think? So it's your turn, it's your job to like, subscribe, and put that in the comment section down below, and I would really appreciate that. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to do that coaster that we talked about, that coaster right there, but we'll let you go on that one. We're just going to run that on my own, and we will see you on the next video, which maybe we'll do some glass engraving, etching thing with the unit. Yeah, all right. We'll see you on the next one. Peace, people. Yeah, not bad at all.